Alright guys, Darren from Honest Money and welcome back to another video. So in this week's video, we're going to be taking a look at working from home. Now I know some of you guys may have experienced this recently for the first time, and there may be even some of you that are thinking about starting your own business and are wondering what it's like working from home. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 tips that will help with working from home. I've been working from home for around 9 years now, and in the first year or two, there are some rough patches you do go through. So hopefully you guys will find these tips useful and it will help you with that transition from working in an office to working from home full time. And the first tip I want to give you, and that is to keep your commute. Now I know that sounds crazy, you're just starting to work from home and I'm telling you to keep your commute. Well, I don't actually mean get in your car and drive to the office and come back and start working. I don't mean that at all. What I mean is I want you to have a fixed start and fixed end period of your day where you do something outside of the house. So for example, with me, I always walk the dog before I start work, and then I walk the dog at the end of the day. And that for me is my commute. That's how I separate my personal life and my work life. So I know as soon as I've walked the dog, work begins, and then once I finish the day, I go and walk the dog and that's it. Work is over, the PC is shut down. I'm not doing any work for the rest of the day. So whatever your commute is, think about what your commute could be. It could be maybe going to the gym, maybe it's going for a jog, whatever it is, have a think about how you can separate your day by getting out of the house to help have that clean cut between when you are working and when you aren't working. Up next, I want you guys to focus on your health. So the two things I want you to do with regards to your health, one is to make sure you have regular breaks away from your desk. So if it's a lunch break or a morning break or an afternoon break, don't be tempted to eat your lunch at your desk. Take that food, eat it in another room, go into the garden, do something else, as long as you're not at your desk all day. Also, I'd highly recommend getting a convertible desk. That's what I've got behind me. I've had that for about 5 or 6 years now. And every hour or so, there's a timer, there's a piece of software that comes with that desk that reminds me to either stand up or sit down, because if you're sitting down all day, it's not good for yourself, and if you're standing up all day, it's not good for you either. But if you're rotating between the two, maybe every 45 minutes or every hour, it's a lot better for your health. Also, one thing I do, if I need to go to the toilet, rather than going to the closest toilet in the house, I pick the one that is furthest away, just to add a few extra steps, just to get me going up and down the stairs a few more times in the day. And just those little changes will really help with your health, and it will stop you becoming a work from home slob, which none of us want to become. The third thing that I want you guys to think about is actually putting together a work schedule. So for me, I keep a 4-week schedule. It's a very basic thing I do in Excel. I have Monday to Friday for 4 weeks, and I plan out the works that I'm working on. Now, I might not have those 4 weeks fully scheduled, but when new work comes in, I can easily slot it around the existing work that is pre-booked. So make sure you keep a schedule so that when new work arrives, it's really easy for you to schedule it in, and it also keeps you focused. So if you wake up on a Monday morning, rather than rolling into the office, not really sure what you're doing, you'll have a clear schedule exactly of what you're doing that day. And by having those expectations on yourself, you should find that you are productive and actually hit those targets because you have that work pre-arranged and you know exactly what you're aiming for. The next thing that I want you guys to think about is a routine. So what I mean is I want you to have a set time that you get up for work, just like you would as if you were going into the office. Have your alarm going off in the morning, waking you up. If you're ready to start work at 9 AM, make sure you hit 9 AM every single day that you're working from home. Also figure out when your lunch breaks are going to be, and if you're going to have a morning break or an afternoon break. By having a routine with breaks and lunches already lined up, it will be much easier to keep your focus and also stick to working from home and not just kind of stumble into work when you're ready and keep working all the way late into the evening. Then it really impacts your work-life balance. The next thing that I want you guys to focus on, and that is actually picking a dedicated workspace. Now, many of us, when we work from home from the first time, we end up working at the dinner table or maybe sitting on the sofa with the laptop on our lap. You know, it's not a good position to be in if that's going to be your permanent working placement. What I'd recommend is picking a place in your house where you're comfortable working every single day. Now, my recommendation would be finding a room with lots of natural light. So my room usually has lots of natural light. Obviously, when I'm recording, I have the light blacked out, so there's no light coming in at all. But if you've got lots of natural light coming in, that will really help you stay active during the day. The other thing I would do as well is swap your light bulbs. So in this room, I've swapped them to what are called 5,000 Kelvin bulbs, which effectively mirrors daylight. So in the kind of dark winter days when it's 3-4 p.m. and it starts getting dark, when I put on the lights, it's like it's daylight still. Whereas if you've got kind of a 2,000 or 3,000 Kelvin bulb, it's kind of that horrible yellow light, which is more of a relaxing evening light. It's going to put you into sleep mode. So think about changing your bulbs to daytime bulbs, and also make sure you've got rooms with lots of natural light. Now, this next point is very heavily dependent on the type of job you have. However, privacy is a really, really big thing when you're working from home. What I used to do when I had my web design companies, I had a separate number for my web design business that I could then turn off at 6 p.m. What I don't want to do is give everyone my mobile number. Then when you shut down the PC or shut down your laptop at 5 or 6 p.m, people are then calling you at 7 or 8 p.m. at night. So think about your business. Can you have an alternative number? Can you have a second SIM card or maybe a second telephone that you can use purely for work, that you can then switch off when you're not at work, or at least you can turn the alert off and only check it when you want to, rather than being available 24/7. So you can maintain some privacy, and that will definitely help with your work-life balance. Up next, we have distractions, and distractions are going to be different for everyone and everyone's own individual circumstances. It could be your children, it could be pets, it could be your significant other, it might even be websites or social media. I know for me, when I started working from home, the biggest issue I had was just kind of drifting onto other websites. So I'd find myself on BBC, reading the news or reading the sport, or maybe I'd fall onto the Daily Mail and be completely ashamed of myself that I was reading that rubbish. But whatever it was so easy to get distracted on other websites. So if you're similar to me and found that a distraction, I'd recommend installing a website blocker in your browser and putting in a list of all the websites or social media websites that you usually access so that you cannot access them when you're at work, and that will really help with your productivity. If you've got other distractions such as children or family, think about how you can minimize those distractions. Explain to them your situation, and maybe they'll be more considerate during the day to the fact you are actually still at work despite the fact you are at home. But the more you can minimize distractions, the quicker you can wrap up your working day. The next thing that I want you guys to have a think about is how you can have more face-to-face contact during your working day. Now, when you're working from home, it's very, very easy to end up isolated or feeling lonely because you're not actually seeing anyone. So you guys need to be proactive in actually how you're going to see people. So for me, I have integrated my gym as part of my working day, which means I get to go out 3 days a week as part of my working day to see people, have a chat, and obviously go to the gym as well. But that face-to-face interaction does help a lot, especially when you know you're going to be spending 4, 6, or 8 hours in the office on your own. Other things you can do, maybe if you're on your fake commute and you're walking around the block, you can have a chat with the neighbours or chat with other people that are walking the dogs. Just really try and be proactive about that. Maybe if you've got some meetings, you can do face-to-face meetings with some webcams instead of just doing telephone calls. And again, that's another thing you can do to encourage face-to-face interaction, because without that, especially in the first year or two, as you slowly adapt from that kind of busy office environment to working on your own, it will really, really help that transition. This final point is something that happened to me in the very early days of working from home, and that is to back up, and back up. In the first few weeks I was working from home, I had a hard drive failure, which really, really hit my business. So now I make sure all of my stuff is automatically backed up at all times. So if you haven't got backups in place, as soon as you finish this video, I want you to look into sorting that out. So for me, I use Dropbox, and then all of my stuff is synced across all of my devices. And also I use Exchange email, so all of my emails are automatically backed up. And again, they are synchronized across all of my devices. So think about what you're using, what software you're using, what email programs you're using, and make sure everything is backed up at all times, because anything could fail at any moment, as I found out in the early days of when I started working from home. Now, there are people that don't back up, and that's because they've never actually lost anything. But imagine now, if your hard drive failed and you couldn't access that data, how much trouble would it cause? If it's going to cause you big trouble, make sure you take care of that backup. The final tip that I want to give you guys is a bonus tip, and it is with regards to self-judgment. Now, when you start working from home, there'll be days when you judge yourself that you haven't been very productive, and you'll find you're probably more harsh on yourself working from home than you would have been if you were in the office. We've all been in the office where we've had maybe a couple of hours productivity, and then we're very, very good at running down the clock for the rest of the day. Yet when you do that at home, you feel really, really guilty and feel like you've wasted your day, and you judge yourself really harshly. What I'd recommend is for you to think about how you like to work. Now, I personally like to work really hard for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and then that's it. That will be me done for the day. I could work 6 or 8 hours at a much slower pace, but I'd prefer not to do that. I'd much rather prefer to work at a faster pace and be finished earlier. You may find that you prefer to work the alternative way. Also, some of you guys will have bosses, even though you're still working from home, you'll still have a boss who wants you available from, say, 8 till 6, and you won't be able to do that. But think about how you like to work and try and make sure you work that way when you're working from home, and don't judge yourself too harshly if you don't have the most productive day in the world every single day. So I hope you guys have found those working from home tips useful. If you did, let me know in the comments which ones you found useful. If you've got any of your own tips for working from home, again, let us know in the comments. I'm sure everyone would benefit from reading them. If you did find this video useful, I'd appreciate if you could take a moment, scroll down, hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos from me, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in next week's video.